Okay, good afternoon. Happy Monday. I will be leading today's board meeting at the start. We're going to start with the call to order. It is now 12:15 p.m. Roll call. We have Izzy Wong here, HR analyst, Amanda Vey, Commissioner, Chief Robert Almada, Deputy Chief Robert Hollis, Lacey Police Officer Guild President Stephanie Newcomb, Madeline White Commissioner, and Mark Brown Commissioner, and myself, Leilani Sue, HR Director and Civil Service Examiner Secretary. We're going to start today's order of business with the officer election for the 2025 Commissioner Chair. I'm going to open the floor for nominations for this year's chair.
I nominate Amanda Vey.
Second.
Okay, so no objections. We're going to close the nominations. Is there a motion to elect Commissioner Amanda Vey as chair?
I move that we elect Amanda Vey as our chair.
Second.
Okay. No objections. We will have Amanda Vey serve as chair for the remainder of 2025. And you can take over again.
Thank you very much. Thank you for starting the meeting. Thank you, commissioners, for your approval. We will move on to item number 4, approval of the agenda as submitted for February 3, 2025.
Move approval of the agenda as submitted.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? Let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes from the November 4, 2024 meeting.
Madam Chair, I'll move that we approve the minutes of the November 4th meeting as printed and distributed.
Thank you.
Since I wasn't here, I can't really second
You
it.
cannot, but I can, and I will second that motion. All those in favor? Commissioner White, it's you and I. I'm sorry, Commissioner Brown, it's you and I.
Yes.
Okay, and the motion passes. We now come to the number 6 on the agenda, public comment. Do we have any public comment? Do we have anyone participating via Zoom? We do not. Thank you, sir. That takes us to item number 7, the command and staff quarter. I'm sorry.
Can I speak for the public comment? Or is that at the end?
Certainly,
Either way, yeah.
certainly.
You can either do it now or you
Please.
can do it when the agenda item comes up.
Okay,
So
that's what I'd prefer to do.
okay.
Okay, so with that, we will move on to item number 7A, command staff and quarter 4 report, please. Chief Almeida.
Thank you very much. Madam President, congratulations on your unanimous election.
Thank you, sir.
All right, for the fourth quarter of 2024, we had 22 entry-level applications for police officer. We had 4 lateral applications for police officer. Of those 26 applications, 4 were disqualified at the application phase. 5 were disqualified at the oral board phase. 4 were disqualified at the guardian phase. At the interview phase, 2 were disqualified. As we're going through the process, we have 1 lateral level officer on the eligibility list. We have nobody in the background process. We've had 7 entry-level applicants withdraw from the process. We still have 3 entry-level applicants in the process. That's my report. I have no discipline to report.
What is the guardian phase?
Guardian is an electronic software package we use to help facilitate our background process. Instead of using snail mail, we use this electronic software package to contact people electronically for reference verification and credit checks, things like that. It also works as a record management system as we process them through the background phases. It greatly facilitates the process, and it's much timelier. It's probably shaved at least a minimum of 3 weeks, but up to 6 weeks off the background process.
And is guardian the name of the program?
Yes.
Okay.
Question? So Chief, I don't know, do you have more on your report?
That is it.
I wanted to ask, I thought that I heard you say that we don't have any vacant positions.
We have one vacant position.
So that's why we're still accepting applications then, or do we accept applications on an ongoing basis so that when there are vacancies, we've already have people queued up for further consideration?
We haven't ever had a position where they're all filled, so we're still kind of waiting at this point. We do we accept written, people can check us off as they take the written through PTS testing. As you take the one test and you check off whatever agency you want to go to. That's how we generally get people. And then we pay for a portion of their testing process, like $10, something like that. And then we gather those names, and when they checked us, then we go through, they insert their documents in the Guardian. That first level of processing to make sure they meet the criteria. And then we have monthly interviews. And that's that first level of oral interview panel. And then they're ranked on a test, on a scale. They're ranked on a list as to a combination of their written test score and their oral test score. And then as I have positions, then I take the top 3 off that list.
Okay, thank you.
They only get to me if I have vacancies. If I don't have vacancies, they're just an active list.
Thank you. Deputy Hollis, anything? Sure. All right. If I may, I'm going to interject. I was fortunate enough to attend the swearing in ceremony on Friday for the Lacey PD, and it was absolutely wonderful to see both the young people that were becoming police officers, well, had already been sworn in, but were getting sworn in front of their family and friends, as well as the promotions. It was just a very, very nice treat to be seeing how joyful they were with their commitment to serving the city of Lacey. And I think the ceremony was conducted very, very well. It was very pleasant.
So it's always one of the best things we can do on one of our most enjoyable days when we can celebrate service. Both onboarding new employees and promotions, as well as celebrating some of the great contributions that our members have made, both on the civilian side and the commission side, of which there were many. So
Can I piggyback on that?
Sure.
I also had the opportunity to attend the event on Friday. And lots of observations, but I think when I went home and told my wife, the 2 things that stood out most to me were, one, the diversity among our department workforce. I remember back when stagecoaches went through Lacey and I was the mayor, the first woman police officer, first female police officer. And I walk in that room the other day and I see what we have today. It just, I can't explain it, but I always felt that organizations do a better job of serving the people they serve if they look more like the people they serve. And it was just really heartfelt emotion that we have such a diverse workforce in our police department. And so I just was really excited to see that. And I congratulate everyone involved in the process. The second thing that I shared with Julie, and this is mostly for the 2 of you, I couldn't help but see the measure of enjoyment you 2 took at that ceremony. You know, we had the pinning of the new folks. We had 1 lieutenant promotion. We had 3 sergeants, as I recall. But just the joy on your faces, I can just tell how much respect and admiration you have for those men and women who work for you. It was palpable, frankly. And I've got some great pictures, by the way, that I'm happy to share if you're interested. But those were the 2 big aha moments for me that I shared with Julie when I got home. I thought it was a wonderful ceremony. And I'll tell you, for those that weren't there, this room was packed. In fact, I think the fire marshal had walked in and we would have actually had to unload some people. It was a big crowd, but well done.
thank you very much. It's very kind. And we'd love to see the photos and we'll include them on our social media, and it's always
Yeah.
fun to do. Thank you very much.
That will take us to agenda item number B, the land acknowledgement. Okay, so we have a resolution passed by the city of Lacey that provides information and documentation on a city of Lacey land acknowledgement. It's resolution number 1137. A while ago, I asked Ms. Sue if she would get me both the resolution and the background information as to how it came about. Because the lawyer in me needs to know these background things. I spoke with Ms. Sue. She got me the information. I reviewed it, and then we were asked to consider whether or not we were going to, as a community, or I'm sorry, as a council, engage in the practice of doing the land acknowledgement statement at the beginning of our meetings. Commissioner White was not present and had not had an opportunity to review any of the information. I also had not had an opportunity to do some research, which I felt I needed to do. I did research and initially came up with two pretty clear pods of people. Some immediately said, yes, you must do the land acknowledgement, and some immediately said, no, you should not do the land acknowledgement unless you were tribally affiliated. So I did some more research, and it became apparent to me that I needed to actually speak to those people that are vested the most and who are the recipients of the intent of the land acknowledgement. So I spoke with an elder at the Chehalis tribe. I spoke with a gentleman from the Nisqually tribe. And I spoke with a gentleman at I tried to reach another gentleman at the,
Watson.
and was not able to do so. That's what I couldn't get a hold of. So, however, the people that I did speak to said, yes, we would appreciate this board doing a land acknowledgement at the beginning of the meetings. So my question to my fellow committee chairs is, do you want us to do a land acknowledgement at the beginning of each meeting? So if that is something we want to discuss, we can do that. If that is something you want to have an opportunity to look into yourselves, we can certainly do that. And if we do want to proceed forward, it would probably need to be in the form of a motion, I think, just for purposes of making it concrete. So is there discussion you would like to have now, or is there time you need to do some checking yourselves?
Well, I'll jump in. I think we should do it. I actually have not participated in a meeting of a public board or a commission in recent years where we haven't. And I think in view of what's going on at the national level, which we don't have to talk about today, I think it's even more important. You know, here we are in the Black History Month, and some federal agencies aren't allowed to even acknowledge that. So as far as I'm concerned, it should be built into our agenda every single meeting.
Okay.
There are other commissions. Do they acknowledge it?
Yes, there are some in the city that do acknowledge it. I am not certain that every committee does. And we are not mandated to do so. The resolution gives us the opportunity to decide as a commission whether we want to or not. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity, Commissioner White, to look into it yet, because I know we've had problems with your emails and your ability to access documentation.
I would say that every organization that I have belonged to, and there's been a lot of them, they've always said acknowledge.
Okay.
And I think based on the fact that you talked to the two elders or whoever they were, that they would appreciate it, then I'm all for it.
All right. So if someone would like to make a motion that from here on out, the commission engages in the city of Lacey's land acknowledgement, I would entertain that motion.
I move that we begin using the land acknowledgement at our meetings.
Second.
All right. Any need for further discussion? All right, I will call for that vote, please. In favor of beginning the land acknowledgement, I would suggest at our next meeting. Anybody in favor?
Yes.
Aye. That makes no one opposed. So beginning with our next meeting, please, we will do a land acknowledgement. And if that can be incorporated where you would like to have it on the agenda, I would be more than happy to make that happen. Thank you very much for letting me give you my spiel as to the how and the why.
Thanks for looking into that.
All right, that takes us to the next item agenda, and that is number C, reinstatement language updates. We will turn this over to Ms. Sue.
Yep. So at our last November meeting, we did talk a little bit about reaching out to other cities to find out how we can make sure that we're, one, capturing the details of what was offered in a rehire process for 2 of our former employees. And then anything else that other cities are considering when it comes to a rehire. We did do the reach out, but we don't have anything to present today because we're gonna have another discussion with our police officer guild before we make any updated changes. So we're gonna pause on the topic. And when we come before you in May, hopefully we'll have some redlined updates to present to the commission with some background information. As a reminder, like consistent with our last rules update process, we would bring it in track change form. You would then have the time period to review, have discussion. We would send it to the unions that are impacted after the fact. And then if there was consensus on the changes, then we would make those official in August.
Very good.
Yeah. We also have a visitor, so.
Has there been an issue of the way it's written now?
Yes.
There's not a lot to it. Well, so when we met in November, we kind of went through that. There's a very small paragraph in the civil service rules and not a whole lot of information elsewhere. We also didn't have any situations that I could look back on in recent years where we've had some folks leave and then decide to want to come back within that 12-month time frame. The service rules really just speak to, like, as long as it's under 12 months, they can come back as long as they were in good standing, but doesn't really speak to like what we do. So we wanted to make that clear in case we're
Would
not.
you say yes?
I did.
You did? What's the issue?
So the crux of the issue is definitional. And as the HR director referred to, terms are used interchangeably throughout the code between rehiring, reinstatement, between both the civil service code, our city administrative policy, and frankly, within our admin procedures as well. So, I mean, we need clarity as far as definitions, number one, and also, so when people do desire to come back, are they being rehired? Are they being reinstated? If they're being reinstated, what does reinstatement mean? So everyone is treated fairly and equitably when they come in the door. And to be frank, myself, the DC, have a certain perspective of what reinstatement means, right? And so I have to admit I have a bias towards this issue.
You have what?
I have a bias towards this issue. The HR director comes from an HR background. She has a different perspective on it. And we have, as professionals do, I'll disagree on things. And we're trying to find consensus along that. And she's been doing great research, trying to find out what other jurisdictions, other comparables do, and what it means to them as well. So we can find, so we're not, duck, right? Parallel to all this, the 2 affected employees have filed a grievance about this matter, trying to get it elevated so we can actually come to a conclusion on it. It's been discussed for quite a while. So between discussions with them and moving to the first level of the grievance process, which has now been transferred to a second step of the grievance, which is what the HR director is currently dealing with. And that's the conversations that are going on between the LPOG president, Stephanie Newcomb, and the HR director. And they're trying to find a middle ground so we can move forward on those 2 employees, as well as change the civil service code. So moving forward, everybody understands what this is and how we can move forward. So the crux of it is this: if you leave employment with the city of Lacey as commissioned officer, and before the 12 months has elapsed, and decide, hey, I'd like to come back to being a police officer, right? As I can say yes when I have a position available and they're left in good standing. Right? So I, in consultation with the city manager, we have a conversation. I said, I'd like to reinstate this officer. We've had that happen twice now in recent memory. And when they come back, what happens when they come back as far as reinstatement? Do they go back to being, what's their civil service rating? Because everything's about civil service, right? That's how you bid vacation. That's how you bid shift bid, depending on how long you've been with the department. But also goes towards your accruals, right? How are those going to be handled? your accrual rate for longevity, your accrual rate for vacations, your accrual rate, am I missing any besides vacation longevity? I think that's all. But basically, that's the confusion, right, is what the accrual rates are gonna be. So additionally, I haven't been involved in the benefits aspect of it. I'm operational. That's my role in this whole process. So that's why HR director who does deal with benefits and contractual things of that nature, that's why it's being dealt in her space. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you.
Hmm.
And
All
then,
right.
If I can,
Yes, please.
so I have a little bit of background in this as well with regarding, I've done backgrounds for the department as a background investigator. I've been involved in the hiring process in that arena. So I know how long it takes to get a new police officer through the background, but also road ready so that we aren't at lower staffing levels like we have been. Since I've been here for 16 years, we have never been fully staffed. So this concern of, what do we do when we have an opening and people on the list? Well, we've never had the list. We've always needed the list. And we've had this recent return where we've had two of our very well-known officers return. And we've negotiated a contract, so we do have a current CBA. Our CBA doesn't necessarily, it doesn't specifically state you lose everything when you leave, but it also doesn't take away your Lacey time because you have that institutional knowledge. And so just a quick kind of breakdown of how long it takes. It takes for a new hire, it takes 12+ months to get them road ready, from background to road ready. For even a lateral officer from another commissioned agency or out of state agency, it takes 5 to 6 months from background to road ready. But for a returned City of Lacey officer, we're looking at about 2 months. That's how long it took from when they met with the chief's background to when they were on the road helping us and being by our side to keep us safe. And the current City of Lacey policy allows a non-represented employee to come back at their same accrual rates after 12 months. Well, we already have accrual rates set in our CBA, and we would just like those acknowledged and properly assigned to the officers for their service that they've done to this city. We would like it to mirror the 12 months that the non-represented employees get in your just definition of reinstatement, that incurs all. Currently, there's an RCW that speaks to sick leave, so these officers were reinstated their sick leave balances that upon separation. And so it is only, fair to them that they also get their earned vacation accruals. And that's essentially what the CRESA whole part of this was, that they aren't getting that. And to be honest, it doesn't have anything to do with not wanting to be equitable or equal or fair. It's what they've earned. They did a wonderful service to our city, and they deserve to be taken care of by our city. And for our commission rules to state such. The RCW allows for, you only have to attend the lateral academy if you've been separated more than 24 months from commission service, and no more than 60 months. So we're not even asking like for the 24-month period, we're asking just for that 12-month that the civil service already allowed.
Did they get paid for their leave that they hadn't used yet? When
They've got cash out for their vacation, but their sick leave was, no, they did not get anything for that.
And is that the same thing that happens to non-officers?
So if a officer retires, there is a retire sick leave buyback clause. But if they just leave, like go to work somewhere else, there's not. For the non-reps, no, we don't have a buyback clause of any kind on the sick leave. And I just want to clarify, in our policy manual, reinstatement of full accruals for a non-represented employee is actually within 90 days of separation. The 12 months is with the sick leave. So the unused sick leave has got a 12-month tag. But for the other stuff, so a non-represented employee who's resigned, leaving the city in good standing and is subsequently rehired within 90 calendar days from the date of separation shall be reinstated to the pay and benefit accrual levels held upon resignation.
And are
It's
you reading from the civil service?
policy manual for the
Is it?
non-reps,
Okay.
yeah.
So how do we? I got a lot of questions, but I won't ask most of them. I'm a little bit confused, but how do we reconcile then in this process that we're going through so that there's no differential between policy
Mhm.
and the civil service rules?
So
Which in a way is policy, obviously, but.
we had kind of a weird, unique start to all of this when we started with the first rehire in 2023. We reached out to the guild because we didn't have an example, and there's no clear language in the civil service rules, the policy manuals, like the CBA, as Stephanie mentioned, there's nothing clear about a rehire, what we do. So at the time, we discussed whether this was like a bargaining thing. We determined no, but you know, because these are two former employees, I think there is an opportunity to bargain. That's kind of where we're at right now, is just to try to figure out if there's something that needs to be bargained. And again, we're looking at other cities as well to see like what is offered, because it's really not clear beyond what's in the city policy manual, which wouldn't apply in either case because both individuals had been gone for several months. I think one was gone for 7 or 8, the other one about that same time, 8 to 9 months before coming back to rehire with the city. So we don't really have anything in writing that's comparable. So we have to kind of carve that out now. And we just want to make sure whatever we're putting down in the civil service rules is something that's both agreed upon with the guild, and then we're being fair with all the other established rules.
And
that
did
are out
I
there.
understand you, chief, to say that if somebody wants to come back after they've either gone to another agency or retired and want to be rehired, that if that's within a 12-month window, that you have the authority in consultation with the city manager to bring them to onboard them?
Correct. So if someone separates from the city, right, for whatever reason, they think they're gonna, the spouse decides they're gonna move, so they're gonna follow their spouse, and so they have to separate. That's a resignation, right? But then that job falls through, they end up staying, hey, my life circumstance changed, I've only not been with you for a couple months, can I come back? Do you still, you haven't hired my position yet, it's still vacant, can I come back? And you left in good standing? I would argue, yes, I'd love to have you back. I'll have a conversation with the city manager, and then we would reinstate you. The reason why it only takes me a few months to reinstate you generally is because if you go to another agency, you've already done a background. So I can just pick up that background and freshen up by the number of months you've been gone, and we move forward. It goes very quickly. That Stephanie was speaking to. So it's a very quick process to reinstate somebody generally.
If it's over a year?
If it's over a year, it's totally different. If someone's gone from, and we've had officers that have left for over a year, and civil service speaks to that. If you're gone more than 12 months, now it's a rehiring, right? So you come in through the same portal as a lateral officer would. You're seen as an outside lateral officer, even though you were ours. You apply, you go through the same hiring process, and then you start from Jump Street, right? So as if you're a brand new lateral officer, you might be top step when you come in, but your accrual rates all go back to what they would for a new lateral officer coming in the door. So, I mean, that's, when you leave, that's the problem when you wait more than a year, because we can't keep a position open for a year, obviously. So, and as Stephanie spoke to, we traditionally have had a hard time filling police officer spots. It's been my experience over the last 5 years, that has definitely been the case. We've just been very aggressive. Over the last 18 months, we've hired some 14 people. And that's through a lot of aggressive recruiting and selection, and frankly, the commitment the city has shown to the police officers by building a new police station, very attractive contract that HR was able to negotiate with the bargaining units, that helps our officers to be attracted here, but also stay here, our retention as well, because they have the support of the community, the support of the elected officials, they have support of frankly the staff here to meet their needs. So it's a whole package that keeps people here. So we want to make sure that as we move forward on this issue, we still are doing that in the same spirit where we're employee focused, right? Yeah. If there comes to an issue where it's pretty much either or, and it's kind of an even Steven thing, we should probably give a nod towards the employee in that case, which we have done traditionally. But like we talked about, the policy only speaks to non-reps, like non-represented people, whereas officers are represented, which is interesting. If you're a non-rep and you leave within 90 days, you come back, everything goes back to where you were. Your accruals go back, it goes back. Now, we talk about reinstatement in the civil service, same word, but it's 12 months, but it's silent as to reinstatement of accrual rates and benefits. So I mean, that's where the angst is, and then we're trying to get that clarified. But yeah, the whole idea is trying to make sure that we're being equitable to the employee, treating them correctly, and that we're meeting the CBA that's been negotiated, which is the other issue here, right? Because there's a CBA that says if you have so many years in service, this is your accrual rate. And that's kind of the third leg of the stool. It's like, well, okay, wait a minute. You have a CBA that says if you've been a police officer in the city of Lacey a number of years, this is your accrual rate. But are we saying, well, no, that's trumped by the fact that you left and you go back to 0. So we're trying to figure out.
And these two employees that retired and then asked to be rehired.
One was retired, one lateral to another agency, but yes.
So for those two employees only, you established a leave accrual rate and a salary, and they're not happy with some of that and filed a grievance saying that they should.
I'm a little uncomfortable getting into the nuances of those grievances. One, they're still under review, and there's some nuance to it. So I'm really speaking to the larger issue of definitions that have to do with the civil service, because the grievances are being brought to you as a civil service commission. The rules are being brought to you as a civil service commission. So it's really not appropriate for me to comment on any individual grievance. I would just give you the background. There was a grievance.
But is the proposed change that we may be making only related to non-representative employees within a 12-month window?
No. What you're being asked to review is for commissioned employees only. That's the only purview the Civil Service Commission has, is for commissioned officers.
Yeah, and so of the 91 employees, how many is that?
72.
The 71? The
Well,
commission.
yeah, it's 71 plus 1, which is that CJTC. So it's technically 72, but that's why there's the plus 1 there. But yeah, 71 authorized.
All right, thank you.
Fully funded by the city. I know it's very nuanced.
That's okay.
It's not part of civil
We'll
service.
see pieces of this at our next meeting.
That is the hope, we get it all worked out and we put it into track change. And
And
maybe,
this is just an observation and it may be flawed. But it seems to me, in view of the historic challenge we've had with recruiting, hiring new officers, that what we would want to look at is probably something in the civil service rules that gives you maximum flexibility to negotiate with these rehired employees to be able to secure their reemployment with us.
so I'm gonna jump in right there. The city manager for all new employees in our policy manual, no matter what bargaining unit they're going into, they're not technically in a union yet. So when he approves any sort of benefits for us to administer, that's totally under his purview. That's like the chief said, he's got to go have a consultation with the city manager. So,
But why are we then need to change the rules?
well, the rules need to be more clear. Right now, our civil service rules have a very small paragraph about reinstatement, right?
Yeah.
So we want to be clear about what that means going forward. So if we ever have a rehire and, you know, Izzy and I aren't here in HR and we're administering an offer letter, we're making sure that we're giving them the same
Right.
things that were given in these rehire cases. So that's the part that we're gonna make sure that we're documenting. Yeah.
Forward to seeing that.
Can I get the RCW from you, please?
For the lateral
Yes,
reinstatement separation,
right.
it's RCW 43.101.125.
Thank you. And I'm gonna request a copy of the policy manual, the city policy
I
manual.
can send you a
too, please.
link. It's on our website.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you very much. All right, anything else? Ms.
One
Newcomb?
last thing,
Certainly.
the 24 months to 60 month is actually on the CJTC Academy page. It's for lateral reinstatement. That's separate than the.
Okay, thank you. And I have access to the CJTC.
Yeah, it's online.
public.
Okay,
It's public.
very good, thank you.
And so it's funny, speaking to that. So if you're gone longer than 2 years, but still within that 5-year window, the academy that Stephanie spoke to, it's an equivalency academy. It's 2 weeks long. So it's basically a training class, not really an academy per se, and it's all classroom. So, yeah, so I mean, just, I want to make sure you guys understood what that aspect was. But yeah, what we're trying to do is get rid of the ambiguity in civil service rules and make sure everything's in alignment, frankly. Because we, like I said, we transpose terms that aren't really defined very well. And we're just trying to get rid of the ambiguity, because like I always thought, I hire adults and they make adult decisions. I'll make sure they have the best information available to make those decisions, right? So that's what we're trying to do. And I appreciate the work that HR has been doing on this. They really have doing a lot of research.
All right. Any further discussion on that topic, Ms. Sue? Okay, so my understanding is maybe by May we'll have something to take a look at, and then hopefully by August we'll have something we can. Perfect. Are there any other matters before the council? And with that, I will move at, if I can find a clock.
12:50.
Thank you, 12:50 to adjourn the meeting.
You need a motion on that?
No.
Nope. Okay,
Thank you.
so we're adjourned.
We, so.